Insecurity is a program of the government. Just like
These are weighty what you're saying.
Well, I thought you asked me weighty questions.
Yes.
I want the truth.
Yes.
And the two advantages for them and disadvantage to the Nigerian people in insecurity is that it's easy for government to spend money without accountability. Because if you say I spent $2 billion to buy some bomb and throw them into the bush, it's easy to explain away. So there's now an insecurity industrial complex, or in fact, in our case, not industrial, it's insecurity procurement complex. President Tinubu cannot even be a proper commander-in-chief because he can't do the work.
Why?
Because he's more or less an international businessman. I can tell you, he's an international businessman who is using the office as a ladder, as a platform to promote his international business. And then the consequences, that's why he doesn't want to beg you for power. He doesn't want to go to the people and lay his hand and say, give me the power. He will just snatch it, grab it, and run away with it while you are there saying what has happened just now.
Do you see a clear pathway for any opposition, either coalition or individual parties like SDP in 2020?
There's a clear pathway, and that pathway has to pass through the heart of the people. That is the pathway.
Our guest today is Barrister Adewole Adebayo. Now, without further ado, let's get right into our conversation. With a session at the National Assembly, the Senate specifically, where they approved mandatory electronic transmission of results collation in conjunction with manual collation. Have they met the demands of Nigerians? And what does that say about some section saying that is a pretext for a repeat of what happened in 2023?
It has that clause, as amended by the Senate, clause 60 sub 3, is full of legislative inelegance. It has legislative inelegance and draftsmanship mischief. Laws are not drafted like that. You cannot say that you shall do something and immediately proceed to give excuses for not doing those things. You are creating problems. And laws don't legislate scenarios, limited scenarios. What they should do is leave it the way the House of Representatives has drafted it and the way it was originally done by the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms and the way it came out of the executive session. So that way, that clause stands. The instruction to the election officer is to immediately transmit the result. So all the other scenarios they are creating are excuses, and they are not sensible. For example, what are the scenarios that they gave that is with a true network failure and all of that? If that's not the scenario, what are other scenarios? What if the PFAS machine heats up and catches fire? What if the battery is faulty? What if it drops on the hand of the person who is uploading it? There are a billion scenarios you can create. That's not how to make laws. There's no draftsmanship that draft bills like that. So what they should do is leave it simpliciter. There are other parts of the Electoral Act that already provides for the scenarios they are claiming they want to protect. The Evidence Act already speaks about public documents and how to evidence public documents. So what the provision of Section 60 or Clause 60 of the bill, sub 3, is saying is basically that in addition to giving the result sheets to the agents, you send it to a central database, IREF, in INEC, where everybody in real time will see what is there. So there's no reason for them to start to paint cataclysmic scenario, doomsday scenario, and all sorts of things. That is not going to work, and we will not accept that.
At a recent interview you had in Lagos, even in Abuja also, I saw you, and you were saying Nigerians may not vote in 2027 without clear electoral reforms to the 2022 Electoral Act, and that, if need be, the United Nations may have to come and supervise, the forthcoming elections. In fact, you went a step further to actually say the protests that we witnessed in the last couple of days, that they were just, a tip of the iceberg, and that there's going to be mother of all, protests to ensure that the members of the National Assembly, in fact, not just that, even the president, that they do the right thing, because we're not going to tolerate, using your words, all these shenanigans, that this monkey business they're playing. Can you elaborate on this?
We've come of age in our democracy. We've come of age in our civil rule. And the rules of the game ought to be clear and ought to lean towards credible, free, and fair elections. And minimum guarantees of objectivity should be encouraged. Now, and we all agreed, we all participated in this process of lawmaking. Public hearings everywhere, all political parties invited. INEC agreed to this language, and INEC knows something about bandwidth or no bandwidth. NCC, Nigerian Communication Commission, went into planning sessions with INEC before the BVAS and RF systems were implemented. And we have used them demonstrably in over 165 separate elections. So there is no reason why you start to create scenarios, you are giving legal cover for mischievous excuses. It's like saying, for you to pass a bill in the National Assembly, the House must pass it, and the Senate must pass it, and they must transmit the joint agreement or draft to the President for assent. Provided that if the roof of the National Assembly collapses, the clerk may not send the thing. Why are you thinking like that? Provided that if the clerk, on his way to the villa, develops malaria and collapses, the bill shall be deemed to have been passed. Why are you creating all these scenarios that don't exist?
Doomsday scenario.
That don't exist. That you are signaling to the person being mandated to perform that constitutional and statutory duty that we have given you leeway not to do it. And that is not a civilized way to make laws. That is not how to be a custodian of the state. And the reason why I looked at it is that in our 1998-99 elections, they were supervised by the military. Absalami Abubakar and Mike Ahigbe and the rest of the members of the Supreme Military Council supervised that election. Subsequently, supervision of elections falls with the federal government, except for local government elections, which falls with the state. So when you are doing these functions, you are exercising the sovereign powers of the country. You are now the sovereign of that country. Now, if you delegitimize yourself to the point where the rest of the citizenry don't trust you to do that work, you create a state where it is impossible for you to do it. And in countries where that has happened, they put you under trusteeship, and foreign people will come and conduct it for you. Because you are showing to the Nigerian people that you are not interested in protecting the sovereignty You are more interested in sabotaging it. And no one is going to allow you to sabotage the sovereignty of the republic. You can contest election if you are in government. There are some normal advantages you have: more feasibility, more access to resources. You are the appointing authority of the people who are conducting the elections. So even if you don't go out of your way to elect someone who is going to help you, appoint someone who is going to help you, you will have appointed someone who cannot hurt you, who at least you know will follow the rule. Those who are in opposition don't have that liberty.
So they have all these advantages already.
Already. And on top of that, you are saying that when we are counting money, you're already getting majority of the money, but you are saying that when we are counting the money, we should switch off the light so that I won't know how much you are counting.
Or you're counting it inside your pocket.
Exactly. So this is not the kind of leadership that Nigeria deserves at this time.
You alluded to two issues. Number one, we've started this journey now, this fourth republic since 1998, 99, 27 years, as it were. We ought to have been improving because it's been unbroken. The excuses in the past, where we have, heavily contested elections, is that, our democracy is evolving. We're still, growing. But this has been maybe 7 cycles now. So, first question: why are we still having this problem? And then, secondly, this dog whistling. Even though you use the word signaling, you can also say dog whistling. So people who may want to play games. Does it seem to you, that the members of the National Assembly are deliberately weakening this key, democratic institution? And why exactly are they afraid of free, fair, transparent elections?
The problem is that some of them genuinely don't know that their duty is to protect sovereignty, not incumbency. So it started with them allowing themselves to be teleguided from outside in the choice of their leadership. It goes with them not playing their watchdog role when they are interacting with the executive branch. And all they do is singing "On Your Mandate We Shall Die" and similar songs like that. So now there's a difference between politics and statesmanship. Election campaign is politics. The management of election is statecraft. So when you are making laws for management of election, don't infuse your politics into it. No. Make it, you are crafting the survival of the state. And you must know the difference between your personal interest and that. The other problem we're facing is that we used to use the expression nascent democracy. Exactly. These days you don't hear anybody coming to talk such thing. Because the nascence of the democracy was an excuse they used for not learning. That is why a 27-year-old is still sucking his thumb. Because, yes, and still talking about nascent democracy. There's also the element of irresponsibility generally, that the political elite don't have any long-term vision for the country beyond themselves. That it's just about getting close to power, not to influence power for good, but to solve their personal problems and to leave the people destitute. And they've been doing that in the mismanagement of the appropriation. A lot of the monies coming to the Federation wasted, not accounted for. They don't follow the budget. Right now, there are only 3 simultaneous budgets, obeying none. And they now carry it to election management. Appointing INEC chairman, making rules for them, is the same as appointing judges and passing the court acts for them. You cannot make it in such a way that it has to favor you personally. You have to make it in such a way that it will enhance people's confidence in the institution. And that those who are in that institution who want to make it run well will be enabled by the laws to make the institutions run well. And that when the institutions run well, it is not the winner of the election that has to explain how he won. The people's confidence and trust in the institution that conducted it will be sufficient insurance against any untoward feelings. That is why if you go to court and your counter litigant gets a judgment against you, he doesn't have to explain that the judge is not biased. The judge knows the law. You yourself, who lost, and your lawyer will have seen demonstrably that your losing or winning has got nothing to do with the other side. It's got to do with the rules and how that institution is designed to run.
Why is the National Assembly taking us back, to pre-2015, when President Jonathan, in trying to vote in Otueke, Bayelsa State, the card reader could not read his card. He had to vote manually. And then there were all kinds of issues and all of that. Because in 2023 elections, if my memory serves me right, we had almost 90-something%, 95, 96% success rate with the electronic transmission of...
First instance success rate. At the end of the day, we had 100% success rate.
So why are they, interested, invested heavily in taking us back to the dark days? Please.
The problem is this. The people who are in National Assembly don't know the import of the place. It's just a political vocation for them where they can claim privileges and where they can trade away their privileges and duties for favor, and where the whole essence is about themselves. So you will have seen that not only in lawmaking for elections, records from them and occasional outbursts in their own sessions shows to you that where they are to do oversight, they put their self-interest first. Where they are to supervise contracts and check that procurement is done according to the law, they put their own interest first. They become the contractors. Where they are to do appropriation, they write their own personal projects and proposals and businesses and into the contract. So they are self-serving from time, and they are used to it like that. Now, they just didn't know the limit of where they needed to stop before the republic itself will be unwittingly or wittingly set on fire by them. Because the powers exercised by the National Assembly members are so enormous, because they are the aggregation of the sovereign will of all Nigerians. And they ought to do it, to exercise such functions with caution, and to look at the Constitution to know the reason why we set for ourselves a republic, and we have a Constitution, and we set a National Assembly for ourselves. So they've lost total consciousness regarding that. So as far as they are concerned now, they see themselves as mercenaries who can be paid money to pass bills, to delete clauses, to add to it, to alter bills that are already past conference, and forge signatures, forge the text to suit diabolical and personal interests. And this baptism of fire that they are having now should be sustained. It is not only with respect to the Electoral Act that Nigerians should have vigilance in the National Assembly. Virtually every business conducted in the National Assembly should be scrutinized. And many groups, professional groups, regional association, local association, NGO, must from time to time apply to the National Assembly to sit in the gallery. That's why the gallery is there, to see what they are doing. And for every political party and every NGO should have its legislative liaison who will be monitoring things they are doing. They are mutilating the law, and they are vandalizing the jurisprudence. That is why judges who are bound to just interpret the laws passed sometimes are left in a quandary. Because, for example, however laudable the card reader was, and the Beavers is now, and the IRF, the jurisprudence of Nigeria is that the court should pay the highest attention and primacy to what is contained in the Constitution. Next in rank is what is contained in the Act.
Electoral Act.
Yes, in the Act of National Assembly. Okay. So, administrative rules, such as INEC regulations and other institutional regulations, are just meant to implement what is contained in the Electoral Act. So it is left for INEC to make regulations to ensure that their personnel have access to bandwidth all the time, what they are going to do in case there's a delay in transmission. It is up for the National Assembly to legislate such a failed scenario into the law. And in any case, the design of the beavers is such that once you send the message, you can recall it, and it will perpetually be looking for how to transmit. So there is no reason for the National Assembly to dabble into that scenario at all. Secondly, the Electoral Act is read in conjunction with other acts of the National Assembly, including the Evidence Act, including the Interpretation Act, which means that we all know, without them injecting confusion into it now, that the election result given to a party agent or the police or any law enforcement agent by INEC or the one kept by the INEC official, they are primary documents of the results. So what the IRF is doing is to free us from having to compare results. I bring my own, you bring your own. Because everybody has an audited center where you can see it. Secondly, it eliminates mutilation. Thirdly, it leaves no room for you to go to the collation center at the ward level, switch the original result, write a new one to justify whatever number you have cooked. So even if you are a corrupt party agent, once the result has been transmitted to IRF, if you collect money and go and try to give the fake one to your party, they already seen the original one on IRF. It also saves costs for other political parties who are not in government or who are not interested in stealing government money to do elections, who just want to run elections of citizens. They don't need to do anything complex. They just have a small situation room where they carry a computer and they can be receiving the IRF results, and it will also significantly reduce litigation because you can see in real time or almost immediately, you know that, okay, we lost here. Simple as that.
In the UK now, they're putting pressure on Keir Starmer to step down. For what? Because they appointed an ambassador. So, you have full democracy, then you have a hybrid democracy. Then you have the ones who are, like Nigeria. Okay, the third one is actually hybrid. Then you have the last one, fascism. Is Nigeria a democracy?
Okay, let me explain something. Nigeria has not started the journey towards democracy. What we did was a journey towards civil rule. In the First Republic, what we had was the journey towards self-rule. And self-rule can be self-ruin.
Self-ruin?
Yes.
Destruction?
Yes, because democracy has its own attributes. So if you want to study medicine, the fact that your parents dropped you at a medical college doesn't mean you are studying medicine. They can be wondering about doing other things. When you want to study medicine, you start with physiology, anatomy, you start like that. And then you start to gain. So in Nigeria, the elite had a consensus that they must personalize power. And they must be prebendal. That all the money, estate, assets, the wealth of the country must be in the hand of a small clique. And that they would come together and retain the power. So they were doing that in the First Republic. The elections were being rigged, many things. They will announce results even before finishing the votes. Eventually, some set of the elite used the military. When they discovered that, the military is even easier to use, for 15 straight years, they continued to use the military like that. Until, due to international pressure, due to a new generation coming, from 1977, 78, 79, we had the Second Republic. But the Second Republic was usually worse than the first one. You must have heard about the 12 to 3rd. And then for the first time, stained the integrity of the courts. Because courts, before then, people just looked at that place as a holy place. Nobody even bothered to touch it with any problem. So then, the same subset of the elites who organized that Shagari system, you heard about the moonslide, because it's gone beyond landslide. Moonslide victory of NPN in 83. Same sense of elite brought the military back. And throughout the military time, that's when I was coming of age, the promise of going to civil rule, democracy, was just a deceptive slogan to continue to extend the tenure of the military gang. And among themselves, they agreed, I will do this number of years, I'll hand over to you. And the elite were being recruited into it. So many people who were supposed to prepare themselves for civil rule and democracy started working as ministers, DGs, and whatever under the military. And they were now the one explaining that, military is okay, democracy can come later. Eventually, when the consensus broke down in the military, because now, even among themselves, for you to do your own handover to me became a problem. So they started having coups and counter-coups and phantom coups, and they destroyed the military completely. So the esprit de corps in the military collapsed, discipline collapsed, training and doctrine collapsed.
Subordination to democratic interests.
Everything collapsed. Then we came to 1999. So it was a patch democracy because Absalom said, I need to go. But 2023 election, 2003 election, became worse than 1999 election. You can ask Jimmy Carter, who came to observe it, he was gobsmacked. It is what they called an election. And then we had the do-or-die affair of 2007. And 2011 was about buying votes and paying people and all of that. Then 2015 was people ganging together to say, okay, we need to change. The people who came in 2015 with the mantra of change happened now to be proven to be the most cynical segment of the elite. They are now trying to eliminate opposition. They are trying to achieve a singularity where they will appropriate and approximate all the political powers, economic powers, administrative powers, business power, and the money and resources of the country into one singularity headed by one emperor. And all of them will now be kissing the ring.
Bowing the knees.
Yes.
Kissing the ring.
Yes, and do that. That is the reason why anything that can remotely make this singularity to not be a foregone conclusion, they are ready to legislate against it.
What is the opposition doing to checkmate? I'm speaking specifically on the issue of this reform, this particular issue of mandatory electronic transmission of polling results. What is the opposition coming together to do? Or is it a foregone conclusion? Have you accepted defeat even before 2027?
No, what the opposition is doing is to first define what the opposition is. Because there is no common definition of opposition. To the average politician, anytime they're not in government, enjoying the perquisites of office, they are opposition. Even if they have the same philosophy, the same record, the same attitude.
Or just temporarily skimmed out?
Yes, once a politician is unemployed, he automatically says an opposition. I'm letting you know that that is the general understanding of opposition, and that's not what it is. An opposition is a set of political actors who don't agree with the ideas and ideals and ideology of those who are in government.
Policies, programs.
Yes, and who are now opposed to them and proposing alternative set of ideas and programs and doing their politics to convince the populace that they should choose them and sack the people in government. That is what we are trying to define now. And when you define that, one of the things that the opposition will do is to make sure that the rules are even, and that the rules are clear, unambiguous, and that the victory of the incumbent is not a foregone conclusion. They can still win,
Yes.
provided that that's what the people want. But they cannot win in spite of the rules, in spite of the people. So that's what we're doing. So we have not given up. And this issue of electronic transmission is not the only nagging issue.
Of course.
The love which the National Assembly has developed for election riggers, vote buyers, vote sellers, forgers, perpetrators of violence, to the point where they are reducing the statutory sanction against them, is even more concerning than electronic transmission. And what they are saying is that we are the criminals. We cannot legislate against ourselves. We are the mafia. We are the electoral bandits. Why should we sit here and jeopardize our ventures?
To commit class suicide.
Yes.
Okay, so Nigerians should rest assured that well, let me take your word that the real opposition is not going to give up on this.
Nigerians should not rest assured, because if they rest assured, they are now fanning out their responsibility to the political class. Nigerians should be vigilant, and they should cooperate with the opposition, and they should put pressure on the government. A scenario where there's a protest against a bad law, and it's only politicians that mainly show up on their immediate campaign staff.
Citizens who are the real beneficiaries.
Yes.
Are laid back.
No, you can't do that. Yes.
Insecurity has become, if there's any stronger word to use than cancer, ravaging, eating away at the fabric of our society, Nigeria generally. It started from somewhere northeast. It's metastasized all over the place. Is this a failure of leadership, a failure of the system entirely, or of the northern political elite? Prince, if you can do this in 1 or 2 minutes.
Insecurity is a program of the government. Just like
These are weighty what you're saying.
Well, I thought you asked me weighty questions.
Yes.
I want the truth.
Yes, I want the truth.
The essence of a government is to secure lives and property and the territorial integrity of that country. And government is very jealous. You cannot coexist with government.
Yes.
I cannot say I'm bored here now, and you and I carry this camera, we're going to the villa, and say we want to go and they will not let us in. So the Nigerian government use poverty, which we have the resources to eliminate, but they use the poverty to manage power by rendering people destitute, by making you struggle with basic things in life, like Fela Kuti would say, suffering and smiling. So when you are just struggling to pay your rent in Surulere or any of the suburbs, Jegunle or Tobugame or anywhere, or Maraba, anywhere, so when you are struggling like that, how are you going to have aspiration to compete with them? You will see them as gods. So when one of them gives you a letter to go and get a job as a cleaner somewhere, you go to your church and do Thanksgiving. So they are managing the poverty like that.
How does it tie into...
What is that? After a while, they realize that Nigerians are finding other ways to be prosperous, despite the government having confiscated all the wealth of the country. They are doing creative art, some are traveling outside, some are doing other things. So they brought insecurity. And the two advantages for them and disadvantage to the Nigerian people in insecurity is that it's easy for government to spend money without accountability. Because if you say I spent $2 billion to buy some bomb and threw them into the bush, it's easy to explain away.
That will abuse the arsenal.
Yeah, than for you to say, I built houses. Who will say, let me see the houses? Who is staying there? I built roads. Me, I traveled that road last night, no road there. So they found that. That's why if you look at the appropriation, you will see that more and more is going. And there are lots of unappropriated money that they're also spending. So there is now an insecurity industrial complex. Or, in fact, in our case, not industrial, it's insecurity procurement complex that they have created. And anybody who comes will say, oh, I'm going to stop in 6 months. I remember Muhammadu Buhari, may God bless his soul.
Amen.
As APC candidate, and the journalist was asking him how he will deal with Boko Haram, he was so annoyed that anybody will even ask him such a silly question. I will finish them immediately. But when he came, he realized that, oh, there's money to be made here. And there is power in this. So let me continue. And that's why if you look at the lifestyle of those who are in charge of this insecurity business, they live within their means. You see senior military officers, they're not waiting for retirement money like their predecessors. No, they are the ones sponsoring election in their places. They're the ones running hotels. And if you see the trajectory of their careers, when they finish, they don't go into profession. They come into politics. They try to go back to that line of work. So that is the reason. So it is not that some aliens from outer space suddenly have come to Nigeria.
So all these arguments about, desertification, climate change, all of that, is just a...
The climate has been changing for 1,000 years now. And in the last 50 years, desertification, all those things have been there. What we need to understand is that the fact that the people ruling you are from your ethnicity, of your stock, of your race, they look like you, doesn't mean that they are not imperialists. Because they're not ruling you for your own good. They are ruining you and appropriate and expropriate you for international businesses, of which they are the lapdogs. So it's not like the promise that Nnamdi Azikiwe made. And Ahmadu Bello, Awolowo, Aminu Kano, all of those visionaries, that they wanted a country for the black man, where the black man will lead to the resurgimento of the black race, where Nigeria will be a home for all black people, where people like the deals of people like Mbono Ojike and Nke Nanzimiro and MCK Ajoluchuku and Wole Soyinka and Chinua Achebe and all these people, they are not interested. That is why one of them took a very good look at them, and because of his analytical profundity and his facility with language, said they are a wasted generation. And that's what Wole Soyinka said. And you know, Soyinka has not said anything that is off point in almost 70 years.
We're pressed for time, Prince. These few questions, I need us to do it rapid fire. The Commander-in-Chief is seeking re-election. In the face of available evidence, 200 people or so, or still counting anyway, in Omoro or something, Woro or something, in Kwara. This one there, that one. People just, lives are being wasted now in Nigeria, like, even chickens don't die the way Nigerians have been, slaughtered, massacred. Does such a Commander-in-Chief, does he deserve re-election? Shortly.
No, of course not. President Tinubu cannot even be a proper Commander-in-Chief because he can't do the work.
Why?
Because he's more or less an international businessman.
Why do you say that?
I can tell you, he's an international businessman who is using the office as a ladder, as a platform to promote his international business. And the government, I know that as a fact, and that the government is full of people who ordinarily will have worked for him in his private business empire. The majority are the people he put in the commanding heights of government decision-making. And their understanding is that these government offices are places to do business. And they don't see you as a citizen to serve. They see you as a customer to exploit and get something from you. And the commander-in-chief work is too boring for President Tinubu to do. He can see the business side of it, but for him to sit down, read security report, take his time, no. This was a person who even allowed himself to get to a point where his own ADC was to be promoted to a general rank without even going to war college. And I can tell you, and I don't want to be personal against anybody, the ADC is even a traditional ruler in Kwara State. So it shows to you his relationship with the armed forces, that he does not understand that he's the number one soldier of Nigeria. He needs to give them command. He needs to be in the situation room with them. He needs to go to the forward operating bases from time to time. He needs to be hands-on. He needs to know what they are doing, and they need to know that he knows what they are doing and that he cares for what they are doing. He can't do it. He doesn't have the time. He doesn't have the temperament. And you have to understand that if you study psychology, physiognomy, you will understand that President Tinubu is a non-conformist. He's not a person who will say, this is how it's been done. Let me do it that way. No. He's iconoclastic.
He likes to chart his own course.
He charts his own course whether he breaks the rules or not. If you say, it can't be done, he will do it anyhow, anyway. And damn the consequences. That's why he doesn't want to beg you for power. He doesn't want to go to the people and lay his hand and say, give me the power. Yes. He will just snatch it, grab it, and run away with it while you are there saying what has happened just now.
These are your words, by the way, anyway.
These are my words, quoting his words.
Okay.
He was the one who said, power is not served a la carte, and that you don't wait for it, you don't ask for it, you don't beg for it. You just grab it, snatch it, and run away with it.
You seem to like the man. You seem to admire him.
No, I don't. I understand him because I have to do opposition research. I don't admire any of his ways. But I am in awe that a person of that mentality, of that morality or lack of it, of that ethical bandwidth, can find himself as the head of state of Nigeria. And that doesn't speak to him or his quality. It speaks to the collective quality of Nigeria and what we hold dear and what we aspire to be and who we want to be. Naked power, naked money, no gumption, no scruples, no tomorrow.
Wow. These are heavy words, Prince. Let's switch gears. It will be remiss of me if I don't ask you these three set of questions. And if you can do them, like I said, rapid fire. There's this feeling amongst generality of Nigerians, informed Nigerians, that you younger set of politicians, yourself, Omoyele Sowore, Dumebi Kachuku, Prince Ado, Malik Ibrahim, Kola Abiola, that you're not ready. You have not, you may look the part, you may even talk the part, but you have not, you lack the gravitas, not my words, that you guys lack the gravitas. You have not demonstrated enough to convince Nigerians that you are ready to wrest power from this old brigade who have refused to yield the space. Quickly, sir, how do you respond to this?
No, nobody will say we don't have gravitas. Rather, they admire our gravitas. But they come with the...
Why don't they vote for you then?
Because of the principle of agency. Our people don't allocate agency to themselves. Because of the feeling that you have to be a messiah. So that is why they kept looking for messiah, and the last messiah in Nigeria is now buried in Daura, Katsina State. No more messiah is coming. So Nigerians have to realize that you have to have confidence in your ability to choose leaders. And when you see leaders who envision what you want the country to be like, you are the one who will get them there. What they want us to be is that some Nigerians admire their oppressors. And they're having Stockholm syndrome. So they want you to be like the person who is already causing problem for them. They want you to be throwing money around, grabbing things, sponsoring violence, and doing unlawful things. But we are talking to our people. We are going around the country, and we are first not joining the system. The same people are advising us that if you can't beat them, why don't you join them? And from there, you can gradually... Because I'm not in politics looking for a ladder to climb up to anywhere personally. I am in politics to bring a new set of values and to get Nigerians to understand that nobody is coming to help you. you have to do your own civic duty. And also to generally improve on the morality of Nigerians and the standard and to have ethical value in leadership, to understand that if you have ethical value, they should vote for you. It wasn't Barack Obama who voted for himself, who put him there. People like us have shown more capacity than him. He only went to John Kerry's place to give a speech. And they said, oh, this speech is inspiring. We can make it come to pass. So, but he didn't come there by himself. So that is how our generation would do it. And it is the only thing we can do. Even physically and biologically, anybody who is older than us cannot perform the function of that office. It is too enormous, it's too onerous, and it's too tasking for them. And also, the vision of what the modern times needs to be like, they don't have it, they can't envisage it. If you tell them, they can't imagine it.
Good. For you now, personally, I was speaking with someone who said, yeah, you have what it takes, but that, he didn't quite say this. This is me now, He said you didn't build the party. You went and joined the SDP. And there is a precedent for that. Chief Obafemi Awolowo, perhaps in my own reckoning, and I think other Nigerians who are likewise informed, remains the gold standard of what servant leadership, transformational leadership in this environment should be. When he came back from the UK, where he went to study law, he set up the action group before Adewole Adebayo, then later morphed into the action group, built it from ground up, invited people who shared his passion, his vision for Nigeria, and all of that, maybe for Southwest anyway. And they had 5 cardinal points. Anybody who became governor under the platform knew what the ideology was. So the question to you, Prince, why haven't you started a party? Then take this quickly. Strategic communication to the people on your programs, your ideology, your ideas, and your remarkably different style of governance from what we have now. Because even beyond the tokenism of what they say they are doing, even the style, which is so grandiose, so opulent, so sickening.
Okay, let me say something. First, people, maybe they miss a point or two in history. Awolowo did not set up a party. There was Adewole Adebayo.
Yes.
But Thomas played even more role than Awolowo in the formation of Adewole Adebayo. He was even funding it because he won a lottery when schooling as a student in England. And people like Justin were there, Onabamiro were there, many people. So Awolowo did not, on his own, form a party. But given his quality, he was made the leader. So it wasn't about forming a party. That's number one. Number two, the country discovered that even that system did not work because a political party is supposed to be a collective enterprise and not the followership of one person. You follow the principle. I joined the SDP when I was 19 years old. Why would I form another party when the party that I joined at the age of 19 has all the manifestos, ingredient, ideology? And Abiola used it to win elections in this country, even though the people who were there at that time truncated it. And the principles are valid and they are vested in the memory of the people. And this political party has nationwide acceptance across board. So why do I need to personally form a party? And in any case, why would the politics just be about my personal ambition alone? There are many people who believe what I believe in. All of us across the country, we are growing the party. So instead of forming another party, what I'm doing is contributing to the growth of the one which I joined as a youth. And the party is getting stronger and better every day. And we are investing our resources, time. And with respect to selling our ideas, maybe I do more interviews than any person who is in politics in Nigeria today, including those who are in government, who have a duty to give accountability to the public. And I go around every part of Nigeria. I've been to every local government, 774 local government and area council. I've been to every one of them. And I keep going around. So I'm not looking for SDP to be a party of politicians. I'm looking for it to be a party of the people. Once we achieve making it a party of the people, then all these questions about leadership, forming party, all of that will go in the background.
Let's take these 2 quick questions, just 30 seconds each. There was a video in circulation recently about a former governor, current senator, who was seen on the private jet massaging the foot of a lady, a South African lady. What's your take on that? And take that together with the First Lady, Senator Oluwade Tinubu, was in the U.S. To attend the prayer breakfast of President Donald Trump, and she was acknowledged publicly by Donald Trump. What significance is that to Nigeria?
Okay, let's start with the amorous senator. Well, it's not something that Nigeria want to see in their leadership. And it is something that elsewhere will cause a question, and even the senator should even step aside. So it's not something that we admire. It's not something, we can say, well, it's a private life. It's not, because the circumstance with which it wasn't like he was at home and somebody is peeping at his window, is that he's involved in transporting a foreigner into the country and is burning a lot of money to charter aircraft, and he put himself in a vulnerable place where either he likes to be recorded or he was being inadvertently recorded. And when the matter came up, he was irresponsible, claiming that it was AI. And then later came and said he is now a Mazuz who suddenly saved the life of the lady, and the lady would have been dead if he wasn't there to. So it's highly irresponsible. More so when you consider the fact that he was, before politics, a labor leader, a man of the people. Why a bit odd for me to criticize him? I used to be his lawyer to defend him when Obasanjo used to arrest them for one demonstration or the other, one strike. And so if you check the newspaper, you'll see a few pictures of me standing with them being released from magistrate court in Wuse and all of that. So he was a man of promise who has just burnt up mid-air. So now, apart from that, in addition to that, he is an agent provocateur. He says a lot of incendiary things, virtually mocking Nigerians who are hungry. That food is not scarce, Nigerians are overfed. And so, I don't know, but in some places, that is enough for him to go for therapy, for psychiatric evaluation. Yeah, because what he's saying now is not consistent with what we knew him to be. So it could be a case of senility, it could be anything else.
Senator Tinubu.
Our First Lady, the President is the chief diplomat of Nigeria. And the First Lady is an integral part of the President. Now, they have a right to go overseas to make friends, either for Nigeria or for the administration. And that prayer breakfast I've attended before. So it's a common thing. Republicans like to do it in Washington and Virginia and all of that. I've appeared one or two times. So it's a good place, a place to go. And if a foreign head of state says that Nigerian First Lady is a respectable person, that's not a bad thing for me as a Nigerian. I mean, when he said they were a disgrace, I felt like a disgrace myself. So if he praises them, but the hilarity with which they're celebrating it is what is amateurish, because you know Mr. Trump. So tomorrow you can say you are a piece of work or something like that. So it's not something that you should be celebrating, but I'm happy that that went well, the public glare, and they said something nice, because if you had said something complimentary about the First Lady of Nigeria, it will have touched me personally, and I will have felt extremely bad and embarrassed. But it's not something that you can be celebrating as an achievement. No. It just shows to you that they probably don't understand the importance of the offices occupying and the seriousness of the function of head of state. And what would be the ultimate verdict on your presidency is how Nigerians feel.
Last question. Do you see a clear pathway for any opposition, either coalition or individual parties like SDP in 2020?
Of course, there's a clear pathway. Okay. And that pathway has to pass through the heart of the people. Okay. That is the pathway. If it's an election involving politicians and politicians are in charge of it, President Tinubu is going to win. If it is the people who are in charge of it, he's going to lose and we are going to win. So our job is to let Nigerians come out, first show interest in the matter. Secondly, realize that there is no alternative to having a government that works, because all over the world, nobody wants foreigners anymore. There is no country you want to go and they're going to give you a warm welcome. And in any case, no country has as much resources, as much opportunities as Nigeria. The only thing standing in the way of Nigerian and prosperity is the kind of government we're allowed to reign us. So if, therefore, we partake in it, it's not like in my time, when the only way I could express my political value and preferences were to be throwing stones at soldiers who were throwing tear gas at me and all of that. Now, all you need to do is to pay attention, pause the games, pause other things you are doing, pause the betting, and listen to political discourse, ask questions, get engaged, mobilize yourselves, register to join a party, see what they do, vote, and be voted for, and be part of that discussion, so that you don't think, oh, Nigeria, I've disengaged from it. If you disengage from Nigeria, Nigeria cannot disengage from you.